video tutorial, our next video tutorial, is what's known as a flame emission test. This flame emission test is a qualitative test. It gives you an idea of what sort of ions, specifically metal ions, are in a solution. So here's going to be our first example. Normally, if I get a solution and I don't know what's in it, right, this is a solution that has some metal ion dissolved in it, and I want to get an idea of what's in that solution, I can perform what's called a flame emission test. The flame emission test uses a wire loop, like this piece of copper wire, or it can also use a glass stirring rod. How this is done is you dip the loop into the test solution and you place it in the flame, the hottest part of the flame. And as the flame heats up, you see a change in color. Here that color change was violet. I know that was a little difficult to see. Let's try that again. Here we have a violet flame. Now what a violet flame does, that indicates that there's potassium in this solution. So this is one example. And there are many other ways to perform this test. Now I'm about to show you another example. Different ions will give you different colors of flame. This next example is a sodium solution. And here you see a bright yellowish orange flame. That is very typical of sodium. And if you happen to use a glass stirring rod, you'll see that too, because glass contains a lot of sodium in it. So if you're using a glass stirring rod, what you need to look for is the initial burst of color. Anything after that, as you heat up the glass, will result in an orange sodium flame, like this. Now last of all, our last example, will show you what copper ions look like in solution. Copper ions, typically you can tell that that's a copper solution, and hopefully you can see that in this video. The solutions are pale blue or sometimes bright green. We perform this test, in this case with a glass stirring rod, and what we're seeing here is a flash of green inside of that flame. Now notice, since I'm using a glass stirring rod here, if I heat that up, I get that bright sodium flame. So what you're looking for, as I just showed you in this example, was that initial burst of color, little flashes of green. That's what you should look for. So this concludes our flame emission test demonstration.